Welcome to the IT Career Energizer podcast. For anyone who wants to build and grow a career in IT, develop and improve your strengths and skills, be inspired and motivated by the successes of others, manage your career progression, and achieve your IT career goals. And now, your host, Phil Burgess.
Welcome to episode 335 of the IT Career Energizer podcast. My guest on today's show is a customer-focused technology leader. He is the CEO and founder of Unstruk Data and has more than 25 years of experience developing media management pipelines, leading DevOps at venture-backed companies, and structuring successful exits. So it's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast, Kirk Marple.
Thanks. Glad to be here. Excited to talk today.
Kirk, I'd like to start by asking you a little bit about Unstruk Data and how that came about and what the company does.
Yeah, so it's basically what have been building is an unstructured data platform. And what that means is really any type of file-based data that's video, audio, images, or even 3D content, providing a way to enrich that data via machine learning and get it in the hands of both data scientists, data analysts, and even just line of business users. So really making that data actionable in a business environment.
Right. Okay. So from the maybe less technically minded person, can you maybe give a bit of an insight into what that means in terms of how you would take a video and sort of
for sure.
add that data to it?
I mean, a little, some context there. I mean, so I had been in the media and entertainment industry building broadcast software. So basically taking video and putting it onto, Netflix or YouTube. And so in that world, it was kind of people's eyeballs were consuming that data. But what we're working on is more of taking, say, video or images or things and really extracting and putting computers on it rather than eyeballs. And so really the goal is, say you're looking at an image of a manufacturing plant and you have a maintenance engineer that goes around, and typically they do this where they take images on their mobile phone. Now, with their eyeballs, they can sort of triage that data, figure out, oh, there's cracks or there's water pooling. But now with machine learning, computer vision, we can automate a lot of that. So essentially, we're taking the data that's being captured on drones, on robots, or even just mobile phones, and then running algorithms on it to extract more information and really just make it searchable. I mean, that's the starting point, but then also make it something that you can trigger and send alerts and say, hey, I'm seeing water pooling in all these pictures that's come up in the last week. We should get somebody to go out there and look at it. So we're really just taking that data and really, it's not even for like to look at, it's necessarily more just a process.
Right. Okay. Understood. So can you maybe give a couple more examples of industries that maybe can make use of this?
It's really, the first starting point is anybody that's doing sort of visual inspection, which could be oil and gas, manufacturing, land management, construction. All of these are capturing this data today, say by a drone is flying over, or we've talked to aerial survey companies that are actually flying over and they're doing wildfire and wildlife management research. And so the problem they have is they're capturing tons and tons of data, but to go back and say just, hey, can you find me all the dams we've flown over in the last 3 years? And maybe they want to go and inspect that area in more detail. So the way, to take all the data that might be getting used in their business already, but make it more useful. And honestly, just, search and retrieval is where people mostly start.
Right. Okay, good. And in terms of how long Unstruk has been operating, can you give me a bit of an insight into the history of the company?
Yes, we're almost exactly a year now. So I raised a seed round about a year ago, last March, and we've been up and running. Have a team of 9 full-time folks, mostly folks I've worked with before. And it was really, I'd had the idea for this about 5 years ago, was CTO or VP of a few different companies, and that just kept itching at me that there's really a need, for a product in this space. And so we finally kicked it off a year ago.
Great. Okay. Right. Good. Thank you. So we're going to get into the main content, if you like, of the interview now. So, Kirk, can you maybe give us a career tip, one that the audience may not be aware of and perhaps should be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a career software developer myself. And so really coming up with, no one's really going to look out for your career as much as you are. And I think that's where the most growth I've ever gotten is by taking chances and kind of pushing past limits that, whenever I've moved into like a lead role or moved into a management role, nobody ever really hands that to you on a plate. And so I think the tip I would always have is, really be in charge of your own career and try and stretch the boundaries a lot.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. So, can you maybe give us an example of what you might have done to enable you to progress your career?
Yeah, I think I was at Microsoft for a number of years. I think even the ability to, when you see a gap, that's the common thing is you see a gap where maybe a piece of a product's not getting built or there's something that people are talking about, and you kind of raise your hand up and say, look, I'd love to dive into that. But also kind of showing by doing has always been the biggest thing of, getting in there, becoming useful, showing value. And typically people are going to be like, oh, wow, you're doing this better than anybody else could. So just keep doing it and grow. So whenever I've taken hold of a team or kind of grown in a role, it's usually been from something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Right. Kirk, can you share with us your worst career moment and what you learned from that experience?
I think, it's from an IT perspective. I think as an individual contributor, there's always bugs and things you might inject into the system, but I think it's mostly been at the management level. I think, growing into a management role as a coming from a technical background, I think, having to deal with, folks kind of growing in their role, maybe failing in their role. I think the times that I remember are, really when you think that you've sort of delegated to a team, getting so far down the road that, when people just aren't working out and having to make those hard decisions. I think it maybe isn't a worst, but it's the most painful decision of, being 6 months, 9 months into a project and trying to push on people to kind of do better. And then, honestly, having them quit because they've kind of hit their limit of what they're capable of. And they're not able to really speak up and go, hey, I need help. But they decide, no, they're just going to opt out of this and say, nope, leave you the project. And so having to take over a project where somebody just sort of quits on you is probably the worst times I've had.
Yeah, that can be tough, definitely. So, in terms of what you might have learned from those experiences, is there anything you can share?
Yeah, I think definitely from a management perspective of, not micromanaging. I think it's always difficult when you're a technical manager and, trying to give people their own control. And that's what I've really, definitely over the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years of making sure that you have good people around you, but you also give them enough responsibility. Let them focus on the things they're good at, try and give architectural advice without kind of stepping on their toes. And it's there's always growth potential there, but I think that's the thing I really focus on is making sure I can guide, but not really too close to. Don't hold the reins too tight.
Yes. Yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it, actually, for a lot of people who come from a technical background as well, and they know the way they would do things. It's sometimes very difficult to give that empowerment to somebody else.
Yeah, biting your tongue is the hardest problem, but also once you can have that trust, I think it really trust is the biggest thing. And when you lose trust in members of the team, it's really one of the hardest things to get back. And it's rare
Yeah.
that someone can kind of rebuild that, but you got to give them the ability sort of redeem themselves, or just say, oh, look, they see it a different way. And I think appreciating different perspectives is another part of growth in this career.
Yes. Very good. Okay. So, can you share with us your career highlights so far?
Yeah, one that came to mind is when I had my last company, we, as I said, a broadcast software company, and we sold to public broadcasting, PBS, in the States, that every PBS station in the country, I think it was about 150 at the time, had my software running in it. And so there was basically a server that had our transcoding software that would take basically video files from the PBS sort of main head and then transcode them into the format needed for playout. And I think that was some of the widest breadth that I had, that I just thought it was really cool that, you could actually have something that was sitting out there, playing cartoons to kids and kind of being out there at every single PBS station in the country. So, I mean, that was one of the highlights. I mean, the product won awards and things like that, but that stuff's not even as important as just kind of seeing it out there in the wild.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to be able to see what you contributed to, isn't it, and the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, even someone even purchased the IP to that software, and I think it's still in use today. And that software I wrote, I mean, almost 20 years ago, probably 15 years ago now. So it's kind of, I mean, that's another part of it. I mean, seeing stuff you've written not die is another great thing.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Kirk, can you tell us what excites you about the future of the tech industry and careers in IT?
I think the biggest thing is it's really never ending. I mean, as some people worry about AI and things kind of taking jobs, I think it's really more the jobs are going to transform. So I see the augmentation of computer, basically of IT and all kinds of technical abilities onto daily life. Really is, I mean, is something we're going to live with for, I mean, the rest of our lives and probably our kids' lives. And so I think that's why there's always something new. There's always another problem to solve. There's always something new to learn. Even, I mean, myself, I'd always been more of a backend developer, but now starting to understand machine learning more and understanding other new technologies. I think if you want to, there's always something to. I mean, if you feel like you're getting bored or getting in a rut, there's always something to move to.
Yeah, that's true. And are there any sort of emerging technologies that particularly interest you?
Yeah, I mean, we're all of a cloud native stack today, and so really, serverless is something we've been taking advantage of, and event driven architectures, just ways that we can sort of plug systems together in a way that's, I mean, very clean and elegant. That's something I mean, I think is just a real boon from the last several years, that it just makes, I mean, development at scale so much easier, and just all the DevOps things that have happened recently with, I mean, infrastructure as code as well.
Yep, very true. Okay, we're going to go into the reveal round now. We're going to find out a little bit more about you and the way you think. You ready for this?
For sure.
So, what first attracted you to a career in IT?
Well, it's a funny story. So when I was, I mean, a kid, probably 12, 13, I wanted to be a chef. And I had my life planned out ahead of me. I was going to go to the Culinary Institute in New York, and I thought I thought everything was chosen in my head. And at some point, I just started to really. I mean, computers were starting to become bigger. I mean, this is back in the, I guess, early '80s. I'm that old, and so it was really. I started coding, working on an Apple II in my dad's office, and I just started to get more and more into it. And I realized, I mean, I'm actually not bad at this, and I could cook as a hobby. So I kind of flip flopped my career objectives and ended up going to school for CS. And yeah, it kind of all started with, I mean, video games and Apple IIes.
Do you still do the cooking? Is that something you still enjoy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I cook. I mean, most nights, and I love it. So it's a great hobby. I mean, I think it's something that it's easy to do. It's kind of a. I mean, there's a mental challenge to it too, of like timing everything and being logical about it. But I mean, after a long day of coding and meetings and stuff like that, it's nice to it's nice to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. What is the best career advice you've ever received?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really. I mean, in terms of sort of management advice, especially. Um, I think, I mean, thinking about things from, I mean, sort of empathy, I guess is the way to sum it up. Really, I mean, thinking about things from other people's perspectives, even at a technical level. I mean, we we have battles internally of, I mean, product and kind of deciding how we're going to do things. And I think knowing that everybody's coming from a different context and a different persona, and being able to bubble up a little bit and really, I mean, think before you speak. I think that's what, I mean, is something I kind of remind myself every day. And I think I mean, some good managers that, I mean, really try to push that onto me of, I mean, having that empathy for the rest of your team and the different departments and the customer, especially.
Yeah, no, that's very good. And what is the worst career advice you've ever received?
Um, it's funny that, I mean, back probably this reminds me of from college, but being computer science and having professors just not take me seriously. I mean, people, when people don't, they sort of doubt you just based on, I don't know, I mean, your persona, or I mean, they didn't fit your mold. I think basically being led into something that you're comfortable with and confident in, but you have other people who just aren't, maybe from their biases or whatever, they don't think you can do it. And so the only times I've really had bad career advice are when people didn't believe in me. And
Yep.
it was something where I had to kind of believe in myself and kind of blow past it and say, no, look, I mean, I don't know why you're thinking this, but I know I can do this, and I can, basically show you wrong. So that's the only thing that comes up to mind there.
If you were to begin your career again in today's world, what would you do?
It's a good question. I mean, I think I have gotten very wedded to the Microsoft stack, for better or for worse. I mean, we do I've been a C#.NET developer for 20 years. Um, at this point, I probably would be restarting with a more of Python stack and Linux and JavaScript, and it's just not my sweet spot. But I think there's a lot that would be really interesting in machine learning and sort of getting out of my biases of tech stacks. So I'd love to, kind of restart. The other is really, I always wanted to be a video game developer. I just never had the chance to jump into it. And if can ever retire, I would love to go like learn Unity and Unreal Engine and all that kind of stuff. But I think those are the two areas that I feel like I missed out on a little bit.
Right. Okay. And what career objectives are you currently focusing on?
Yeah, right now I have an interesting, I'm kind of split into two roles. So I'm CEO, but I'm also basically our main backend developer right now. So I think there's half of my day, or most of my day, is kind of in product and architecture and meetings and things like that, and sales. And then there's kind of the technical side where I'm having to, and mostly at night, do all of our serverless coding and write against, we're using Azure very heavily. So I think it's a mix. Trying to stay technically savvy. Working with things like Terraform and kind of keeping up with all the DevOps integrations and things like that, but also really teaching myself more about computer vision is something that I'm having to kind of patch in a little bit. Thankfully, I had a good kind of early media and kind of image processing background, so that helps a bit. But I think now just understanding how to apply patterns that I understand to these new technologies is really what I'm trying to focus on.
And what's the number one non-technical skill that has helped you in your career so far?
I think in writing ability and communication ability, I was a double major in journalism in college. And I think, not the best writer in the world, but I think having that communication skill, be able to craft a good email, that's something I think is definitely key. I tend to be a little more verbose, but also I can give more context and kind of hopefully get an answer in one shot, or give an answer in one shot. People, I think when people like to kind of, I don't know, it's the very quick and dirty answers, and you leave something to the imagination. It just ends up having a longer conversation. And I try and really focus on, okay, if I'm going to answer this, I'm going to answer it in one shot. We don't need 5 go rounds in email or Slack. So I think that those communication skills are really something that served me better.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you do to keep your own career energized?
I think staying current. I'm not young anymore. I'm in my early 50s, but I listen to podcasts all the time. I'm always looking at new technology. I'm reading up on kind of what the new state of the world is. So I think just not getting set in your ways. I'm definitely not going to be kind of investigating too many new areas, but I like to know, kind of be a generalist and know what the state of the art is in most things. My son's interested in VR and different AR and things like that, and some video game technology. So, talking tech with other kind of domains, I think is another way to, just see patterns and learn from other things as well.
Yeah, it's about awareness, isn't it, as much as anything else, so you know what else is happening.
That's what I really focus on. I can't be too much of a sort of whatever the other opposite of generalist is, be too specific in these domains, but I like to, maybe at some point I will need to use it. And so it's good to just be aware of it.
And what do you do in your spare time away from technology?
There's not a lot of spare time away from technology running a company, but my kids are older now, so not as much of kind of keeping no school runs or anything like that anymore. But the really just family time. Work from home, so cooking, and my son actually works for our company now. So it's I don't know, it's everything's kind of all mixed together, but it is good to get a break.
Yeah.
watching some TV at night is probably the most break I get, or going for a walk. And we just moved back to Seattle, so just getting outside, getting some exercise, trying to do that more than I should.
Good. Okay. And Kirk, can you share with us a parting piece of career advice?
I think the biggest thing is don't doubt yourself. And everybody gets negative feedback. There's always going to be people that try and limit you or think one thing or another, but really be bold. And it's better to, kind of ask forgiveness than ask permission in a lot of ways. I think that's been something I've kind of really followed of, sure, you may have to say you're sorry afterwards, but 90% of the time it's going to be worth it. And just to be really bold with your career and just go, grab things you think are valuable.
Yeah, that's good advice. And Kirk, how can we find out more about you and connect with you?
For sure. LinkedIn's great. Just under my name there. Our company is unstruk.com, unstruk.com, and we have a Twitter at Unstruk. Any of those are pretty easy to find me.
Kirk, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been great chatting with you.
Same here. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Phil here again. Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with today's guest. You can find full show notes on the website at itcareerenergizer.com/e and the number of the episode you've been listening to. If you haven't already subscribed to the show, please make sure that you do so that you get episodes automatically downloaded to your device every Monday. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the IT Career Energizer podcast. To find out more about building a successful career in IT, visit itcareerenergizer.com.